Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Roundup. No special announcements or anything, so let's jump right in. First up, Kyle from Kaitor Industries has just open sourced his RetroTink 5X BNC adapter, which is the perfect match for people using the RetroTink 5X and have BNC outputs going to it. And the two most likely scenarios would be you have a SCART switch with a single output going into like a PVM or BVM, and then the outputs of that going into the RetroTink 5X. So in this case, you just snap this right into the side, connect your BNC cables, and it just looks fine, and you don't need any fancy or expensive cables. Just get some decent shielded BNCs. And of course, coming from Extron equipment, that might also be the easiest way to connect it as well. And this does have a resistor on the sync line, so if you're coming from any equipment that sends TTL voltage, it's perfectly safe to plug into the RetroTink 5X. And on the flip side, if you were in that first scenario where you just are running it through a PVM and you don't need the resistor, the worst thing that could happen is it doesn't sync, and then you just solder a little jumper on the board to disable it. But I've actually found in many cases, as long as the cables are built right and everything, you don't drop it to a level that the RetroTinks can't see with this resistor. So in most cases, you just plug it in and go. But that was obviously a very niche product, so there wasn't a huge demand for it. So Kyle's just decided to open source it. There's still a few left in the store, so if you wanted to just pick one of these up, maybe you weren't aware of it or anything, then yeah, just grab it now while they're still available. But I think this is one of those things that's kind of so niche that Kyle just put it out there and said, hey, here's all the files. You could make your own in the future if you want them, but time to move along, which is awesome. So thank you very much for doing that. But yeah, more info and links to everything are right here, including the open source files and where to purchase. But this is just one of those things that if you have one of those two scenarios or something similar, this is the perfect match for your Tink 5X. And if you don't, it's useless, but that's okay too. Next up, the Genesis HDMI mod just got a Sega Master System add-on board that could be installed and then connected to the original HDMI mod for Master System functionality. So, some info about this. The Genesis HDMI mod is the perfect example of hybrid emulation. You are absolutely using the Sega Genesis's CPU, RAM, audio circuit, and a lot of its video circuit, but when it comes to actually processing the video into something that you would see on a display, this is where an FPGA is used to recreate it fully digitally. So the video chip section of things is really the only hardware-based emulation that you have in this, and as a result, you get absolutely perfect video output, and you could link the audio output back into this so that you get the analog to digital conversion going right through the same HDMI cable. One of the downsides of this mod is that you can't use Sega Master System games because it uses completely different modes and parts of the chips. So that's what this mode does. It taps into the Z80 and some other points and recreates the Master System's video modes as well. So it's accomplishing the same thing, true hybrid emulation of using all original hardware except for a portion of the video chip. So if you already have one of these installed in your Genesis and you play Master System games, this is definitely something to consider. You just have to email the developer in order to purchase, which I know we all just like to go on a website and click buy, but I've bought the boards from him before and everything went super smooth. So just, I suggest doing that. He also posted a demo video of what it looks like in Master System mode. So this is certainly something that is worth considering if you're somebody who just wants a Genesis that's in now Master System that looks fine, that's original hardware that plugs directly into your TV. This is obviously not for everybody, but I think this is one of those things where if you're a hardcore fan of the Genesis, at least read through the post and consider it. And just note that not all motherboard revisions are compatible. You'll just have to reference the site to see which are. But I'm a fan. I hope to see this thing in action soon. And yeah, I just always appreciate stuff like this because sure, it's not the easiest or cheapest way to experience it, but there's a bunch of people out there that would probably really love this. Now it's time for this week's Mr. Updates, care of Lou from Lou's Retro Source. As usual, I'm just going to skim through these and give my thoughts where I feel like it, but if you want all the info as well as visual examples, please check out Lou's video. First up, Wizzo showed off some new features for Zapparoo Online, including the ability to assign custom menus to a card so you could share playlists of games with others. Hotego added a bunch of different updates. He added another game to the JT Gaiden core called Tecmo Knight, as well as a game called Strato Fighter, and did some updates to a couple of the other games that were out there. So basically, as always, if you're a beta supporter, you get all of this stuff right away, and if not, once all the bugs are worked out, these are just released publicly completely free. Next up, the Mr. Main has some updates, a bunch focusing on light gun support. So it'll be a little bit easier to use things like the Sinden light gun, the retro shooter, and the open fire light guns. You still need things like custom cores for the Sinden gun, but hopefully that's one of those things that's easy to add to the main. And even if it's not, then I don't want the developers to spend all their time on it when there's already just a very easy alternative. Just use the alternative cores to it. There's also an update to the new fork of Mr. Main from Spark 2K06, which integrates things like Zapparoo support and custom loading screens. So that's always cool. I like these forks because it gives people time to test this stuff and see how many people are interested. And if certain features remain a niche option, cool. Now just get the fork if you're one of the people that uses it. And if it turns into things that lots of people use, then now that it's already been beta tested, and maybe the team, if possible, could update it and integrate it into the main Mister. So I like forks of this stuff, and so thanks for people that make them. Next up, the IRM M92 core was updated with cheat support, as well as fixing some sync issues with direct video and scalers. The Amiga Vision team found an error in the configuration that causes issues with some PAL games and demos. And if you're running into these, just set the main TV standard to PAL in the core's OSD. Also, the Ypsilon has released Downloader 2.0, which is a significant rewrite of the downloader script that maximizes parallelism, which is, downloading multiple things at once across all stages of the update process. So the Ypsilon writes this as well as Update All, which are two things that I rely on, and most of us probably rely on all the time if you use Mister. So please consider supporting them on Patreon. I do, and I don't think any of our lives would be as easy with Mister without these tools. So I really very much appreciate them. Taki posted a bunch of images of what the UI might look like for that upcoming console. And, as usual, you got to just take everything with a grain of salt. However, Taki did say that this would work with current Mr. Pies and Mr. setups. So that is actually very cool if this is true. That means you could potentially have this UI running on your standard Mr. setup as well. So obviously, everything remains to be seen until it's real and not just a mock-up. But I'm interested to see where this goes. Taki also talked about being in talks with Altera to have a different type of FPGA-based gaming console that would be more powerful. It would be 1.5 to 3 times the cost of the Mister, but this is all speculation and discussion. None of this is anything past the talking stage. So cool that Taki's keeping everybody updated, but just realize this for what it is. Just developers talking about potential for stuff, which I love, but some people kind of latch onto this and, misinterpret it as, oh, there's going to be a new thing tomorrow. This is probably a long ways off, especially if there's already going to be a different one that Taki's working on now for the release at the end of this year. My guess would be that if they're going to start talks from scratch with Altera, we're looking at 1.5 years, 2 years before that one comes out. Otherwise, why make the current one in its current form? But anyway. And lastly, the next game on the Mr. Discord challenge is Iridium 2 on the Amiga, which is a single credit score challenge and goes into March 30th. So, as always, thank you to Lou for keeping up with these. I could never keep up with all of this Mr. stuff myself, and I'm really happy to support him on Patreon in hopes that he'll continue to do this. So, thanks, Lou. Review samples of the Hyperkin GX PC Engine TurboGrafx 16 console went out, and it's terrible. It might be one of the worst ones I've seen out there yet. Both Joe from GameSack and Jason Metal Jesus put out their videos, and it was bad. Like the stuttering and horizontal scrolling was embarrassingly bad. Like, how did they possibly think that could pass QA? And on top of that, when Joe emailed them about it, they're like, we don't see anything wrong with this. It is mind-blowing how bad it is. And Joe also showed the audio lag, but I actually think the Metal Jesus video, I think it hit even harder in that one because he just showed it playing next to the other one. There was no slowing down or testing, and it's that bad that when you listen to it in the video, you hear the effect on one like a full second almost before you hear it on the original versus the Retron GX. So this thing is just a terrible broken piece of garbage, and it's disappointing because Hyperkin does make good stuff, but they also make horrible garbage sometimes. And it's just strange that they wouldn't just have anybody outside of their team test this before sending it to reviewers. It's so embarrassingly bad. And on top of that, it's a software-based console, kind of like the Retron 5. So you put your Hue cards in and it reads the ROM and dumps it, and now you're playing it off of the SD card. The advantage of that is that you could hot swap your Hue cards, which, it's not that big a deal to turn a console off, but the disadvantage is you can't use ROM carts with that. Or if you could, there would be a very specific scenario and how you'd have to set it up, and you'd have to use original consoles. Basically, it doesn't work with ROM carts, period. However, it also is having some serious compatibility issues with original Hue cards. So the one thing this was designed to do, use your original Hue cards, it can't do. It is so bad that I would strongly recommend watching both of these reviews just to kind of get a laugh. It's horrible. So yeah, the Analog Duo is 2.5 times the price of this, but I couldn't possibly think of a better example of you get what you pay for. You spend $100 on this and you get total garbage, complete and total garbage, or you spend $250 and you get something that works with the whole library, including super graphics, including CDs. So it's just, yeah, I don't know. This one's complete trash, and I'm shocked they let it get this bad. Some of their older consoles, the system on a chip ones, they wasn't great, especially when they put their horrible HDMI video chips in there, the same ones that are in like the pound cables. But the composite video output at least lets you play a game on a CRT for cheap-ish. So it had its purpose, but this is just garbage. So have fun watching these reviews. I was shocked at how bad this thing was. And, both were great reviews. So yeah, this was embarrassing. Oh, and last thing, do not expect this to get fixed at all via firmware update. It's not impossible, but it's not likely that any of this is going to get fixed via firmware, especially the Hue card compatibility stuff. But I would love to be wrong. I would really love for the comment section to light up when this thing is released. Like, no, you're just an elitist. Hyperkin fixed it. Great. Make fun of me all you want, but I don't think it's going to happen. So don't buy this thing expecting it to eventually get fixed. Now flipping to the exact opposite spectrum of the PC Engine world, Tito from Macho Nacho Productions demoed a really fun alternative Tower of Power. Rather than the famous Genesis, Sega CD, and 32X, Tito showed the PC Engine LT and CD-ROM 2 unit connected into an interface unit that sits on top of the PC Engine ROM amp, which essentially allows you to have like a mini stereo video game station for your PC Engine stuff. It was just neat, and it was totally ridiculous, but in a positive way, not in anything other than like, hey, let's check out this hardware that many of you probably didn't even know existed. I didn't know the PC Engine LT existed till I saw one at Brooklyn Video Games a couple years, the one that somebody brought it in to get worked on. And it's just really neat to kind of see an era of gaming that was so weird and rare and only in Japan. And it's kind of fun to see too, because while I wouldn't recommend you building this just to play on the tiny little LCD screen that's built into the PC Engine LT, it's kind of neat. And it's just, I don't know, it's a fun video. Even if you're not into PC Engine gaming, I like this look into weird hardware. And if you'd like to buy any of this weird and expensive hardware, I threw eBay affiliate links in here because why not? But I would not recommend buying it unless you're a hardcore collector where this stuff is special to you. But if you just want a really good PC Engine experience, get the Duo, get a Mister, whatever, get some original hardware. But if you want to be ridiculous, this is probably the most fun PC Engine build I've ever seen. This Saturday at 3 p.m. New York City time, Artemis will open the second batch of orders for the scalable video switch. And all modules will be available to purchase except for the VGA input module. A couple of bugs were found in the first revision, and Rev 2 hasn't been completed yet. I think it's done, but not quite back from the factory or something like that. So you could get everything else, including the VGA output modules, just not the VGA input for this batch. And if you want more info on this Switch, definitely check out My Life in Gaming's video on it. It is absolutely everything that you would want to know about this before jumping in. And it looks like this is going to be, in many cases, the go-to Switch. The only point that I think I want to make here, other than telling you to go watch the My Life in Gaming video, is that keep cost in mind, because depending on your needs, just getting like a G-SCART or a G-Comp or any of the alternatives that are only one output might save you a ton of money if you don't need all of this. But if you're somebody who mixes and matches signals and you don't need matrix switching, then this is probably going to be the perfect video switch for you. And if you do need matrix switching, still using the Extron crosspoints and a whole ton of different adapters is still the best bet for you. But I love this thing, and I'm just happy to see it out. And batch 1 sold out in like a minute. So hopefully this one will have enough for a lot more people to go around. But I still wanted to give everybody a heads up because this thing is absolutely awesome. Kevin Malott has just opened a second batch of orders on the HyperBoy Plus, which is a single flash ROM cart for the Virtual Boy that now includes a 4-color e-ink screen. So this one is black, white, red, yellow. And the price is about $200, and they should start shipping to customers before summer. The first batch of pre-orders is already shipping out to customers. I think I missed it. I apologize for not getting that one up on the site, but hey, now you have the ability to buy it. And whether you should buy this one is totally up to you. So I did a video on the Hyper Flash 32, not HyperBoy, a couple of years ago, which is essentially the same thing, except you load all of your games on a micro SD. You select the game via the capacitive touch buttons and the e-ink screen, and it's kind of a cross between a standard ROM cart and this, whereas this one requires a USB connection to a PC and some PC software in order to load the games and create the menus and stuff like that. And all the software is free, but it's just something to note. Now, the prices of everything has gone up, so while this was originally intended to be a cheap at the time solution, now this is $200. So it's definitely not cheap. And I don't know what the price of the Hyper Flash 32 would be, especially with a 4-color e-ink screen. So if that's ever back in stock, that might be $300+ nowadays. So really, it's up to you. Do you just want a cool solution to load Virtual Boy ROMs, and you just load the ROMs right through your PC, and you have this awesome 4-color screen, so after it's loaded, it essentially becomes the game that you've loaded on there? Or do you want to wait and see if Kevin makes another batch of the Hyper Flash 32? It's completely up to you to decide, but links to everything are right in here, and I'm happy to see love for the Virtual Boy. I actually did a live stream with Kevin a couple years ago showing all of the awesome homebrew accessories and homebrew games that are available. And while I didn't show this, I did show the other version of it, so you get a good sense of what to expect. But I definitely would check that out, because while most of that live stream was spent demoing games, so you could just skip that part, the first 15-20 minutes digs into the very cool hardware that's been released over the years. So that's still kind of a relevant stream, even though it's a few years old. But yep, if you want a HyperBoy Plus, then check out the links right here. Just a quick heads up before I go, the RetroTink 4K CE is now available from Consoles for You in Switzerland. So if you live there and you were waiting on one of these, I promised I would update people when they were in stock and ready to go, and now is the time for that. So I believe they're still in stock in the US, UK, and I think Germany is coming soon for that as well. So I just always like to give heads up for this stuff, because a lot of people were waiting on it. And while Mike made enough for everybody to go around this time, it still tends to sell out pretty quickly from different distributors around the world. So I always like to give a good heads up. And this paired very, very well with the C4 OLED as well. So I'll get into that in the upcoming video. Well, that's it for this week. I'm 99% sure that LG C4 reviews should be out this weekend. The short version is it's an absolutely awesome TV. I would really recommend it. And the only big complaint I have is its BFI leaves a lot to be desired. And also the information menu still is annoying to me on LG TVs. I can never pull up the resolution and refresh rate, and it's never easy. You have to go through a menu. I really wish they just had a one button info thing where you could just pull up what you have loaded in there. But that's really it. Those are the two negatives. Everything else about this, I have loved this TV, and I've even really enjoyed the Philips Hue stuff with it, which I'll show that in the video as well. So I'm excited to share it all with you because I've been really wondering if these modern OLEDs are a giant step up from the last time I bought one a decade ago. And yeah, they absolutely are. So hopefully you'll be able to check that out this weekend. But anyway, as always, thanks to everybody who watches, listens, plays nicely in the comments, and especially thank you to anybody who supports in any way possible, because it really is you who's keeping all this stuff alive. So thanks very much, and I'll see you next week. This week's Roundup is brought to you by Neo Paradigm Entertainment, connecting Southeast Asian influencers with opportunities in the West.